Today, on the Eurostep, the playoffs are on.
We make some bold predictions.
Round up the latest news.
And play Would You Rather, Playoffs Edition. Hi, I'm Oisin Brown, and this is the Eurostep on CRC. This time I'm joined by Killian Loftus.
Yeah.
And Alex Evans.
The heat is on. Like Donkey Kong.
You ruined it. You ruined it, Alex. Oh my god. So, playoffs are on.
It just hit me. Some people just have these moments, and I just had one. It was beautiful.
The playoffs are on, right? So,
just like the heat. I am stopping. Go.
There are 8 matchups. 6 of them have played one match, and there are 2 matchups where 2 games have been played. The Raptors are 1 up against the Wizards. The Celtics are 1 up against the Bucks after quite a game, which went to overtime. We'll talk about that in a bit. Sixers are 1-1 against the Heat. Heat are taking home advantage now after their brilliant performance last night. The Cavs dropped home advantage against the Pacers. They were 1-0 down to Oladipo's team. Out west, the Rockets are 1 up against the Timberwolves. The Warriors are 2 up against the Spurs. The Blazers are 1 down against the Pelicans, and OKC are 1 up against the Jazz. So, So we're gonna come up with some bold statements now. We're gonna jump to some conclusions, and drop below in the comments what you think of some of the wild things Killian's gonna say. I don't know about the rest of us.
Quick note: they might not all be 100% the truth. It's just
one of them is 100% facts. You can't deny.
Just after one game, this is just.
One of them is to do with Miami, and it is 100% facts. You can't deny. It's just how it is.
Anyway, so Killian, what's your first one?
First one: the Golden State Warriors are going to sweep the NBA playoffs.
So the Warriors are 2-0 up against the Spurs. They blew the Spurs out against in the first game, and well, things didn't look that awful much better for the Spurs in the second game. A little bit closer, but it's still comfortable, like, to say the least, for the Golden State Warriors. So Killian, why?
Like you mentioned, they're 2-0 up against the Spurs. 2 blowouts. It's looking like it's going to finish as a sweep. And it's worth noting, the Spurs are still a good team, even without Kawhi Leonard. But the Warriors are playing out of their minds, especially Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson. I think Klay Thompson's shooting about 70% from 3, another 70% from the field so far in the playoffs. It has been 2 games, but still amazing numbers. In Game 2, it took 34 points and 12 rebounds from LaMarcus Aldridge, and another 21 from Patty Mills, just so they could lose by less than 20 points. The Golden State Warriors took coasting to another level this year. They coasted so hard in the regular season that they managed to convince everyone that Houston is a better team than them. I find that amazing.
What do you mean convince everyone? Have we not sat on the show all year and said that the Warriors are going to show up in the playoffs?
So I convinced everyone other than Team Eurostep.
Let me reread my line. They've taken coasting to another level this year. They coasted so hard they managed to convince casuals that Houston are a better team than them. Better. Misread my line.
I like that.
They'll play, after sweeping the Spurs, which will probably happen, they'll play Portland or New Orleans in the second round. And though those teams always do well against Golden State, specifically Lillard and Anthony Davis, sweeps are rather likely, especially considering Steph Curry is going to come back healthy, fresh in the second round. I see a sweep there as well. Houston, sweep. Cleveland, sweep.
Alex?
How it is.
What do you think?
Yeah, I actually think this one is kind of 50-50. The Warriors, they look great as, every postseason for the last 4 years. They look fantastic. But this year, as you know, Durant and Thompson especially just seems to have this kind of urgency about them that, okay, time to turn on now, time to turn up and show. Last year in the playoffs, we kind of saw a couple of games here and there, especially Klay Thompson, in the finals, to say the least, where he just wasn't there. He didn't show up at all. And if he can continue this form throughout the whole playoffs, I don't know how any team in the NBA stops 4 Hall of Famers coming at you on both sides of the floor. That being said, I think there is a lot of good teams this year, and it's hard to see them playing perfect for another 14 games of basketball. Like, this is the best 16 teams in the league right now. the best players. Everyone is here, except Boogie Cousins, but Kawhi Leonard.
And Nikola Jokic.
And half the Celtics team.
And half the
Yeah, but see, with the problem they have, the Rockets, they're such a good offense. James Harden could easily put up 60, and Paul could nearly put up another 20 and 20, and it's such a hard thing. I think the Rockets will have maybe take one game off them, and you can never count out LeBron James to not win a game against any team
If he makes the finals.
when he makes the finals.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Golden State Warriors have looked amazing in these first 2 games. They've just so casually went about their business. You know, they made the Spurs look like school kids, really. Spurs couldn't do anything to contain the Warriors in the first game, you know, not really the second game either. And I suppose we didn't really notice it, like we could see the scoreline, but then when you'd see Kevin Durant's stat line, Klay Thompson's stat line, they're both 30 plus, and you're like, whoa, where'd that come out of? But
That was a good line, and you're like, whoa, where'd that come out of?
but yeah, I mean, as you know, sweeping the first round and sweeping the entire playoffs are 2 very different things, and it's not impossible. This is, as we've said on numerous occasions, the greatest team of all time, and they're going to go out and show people that, considering casuals believe they aren't even the best team in their own conference. So, yeah, like,
and what was it? I think it was some big basketball media page, was The Score or Bleacher Report, one of those, and they have the Warriors coming into the playoffs. It was like 13% or even lower to win. I was like, what?
Yeah, they had
What
them
are you
I think
doing?
it was Bleacher Report, actually. They had them as the 3rd favorite team to win, and
Like,
you know,
come on.
that's just
Come on.
disrespect. However, I still think that I could see them sweeping the Rockets. I could see them sweeping the finals, but I think the next round is where they could find the biggest difficulty. I could see, look, Anthony Davis is an absolute monster, and Damian Lillard's, you know, he's been, if he'd played like the whole season at the level he's been playing for the second half, he'd have been much more thereabouts in the MVP conversation.
And he always shows up against Golden State.
Exactly. The games between the Warriors and the Trailblazers regular season were absolutely amazing to watch.
And have been for the last few years. One of my favourite games just to watch back is the Trailblazers Warriors game, and the Warriors went 72-10, and the second half of the season, and Lillard went off for 50 something. Anyways, and it was just shot after shot, Lillard just on fire.
Lillard.
Lillard.
Heat check.
Bag, it's not fair. one of my favourite lines of all time. But yeah, as Oisin said there, such a casual performance from the Warriors and a 15-point win. Kevin Durant even said it in the press conference last night when Steve Kerr, the head coach, said it was a quiet 32 points. And it was such a quiet game. He went about his business, did what he had to do to get his team to win, putting up 32 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, a block, a steal, shooting 53%. Just a casual game from Kevin Durant.
Yeah, look, even though the Trailblazers have played brilliant basketball against the Warriors, for some reason I just feel like the Pelicans might have a better chance of taking a game from the Warriors, simply because, and we'll talk about Rondo later, but Anthony Davis is just, he's a monster. 82 games and playoffs, he is just unstoppable. Even without Boogie Cousins, this is just, they're a good team, but Anthony Davis is...
I think they're really getting everyone kind of excited for next year if they get Boogie Cousins back. AD is still young, he'll continue to improve. If they can keep Rondo and the guys, Drew Holiday, and even add a couple of veteran guys like we've seen, like the Sixers do with pickups like Marco Bellinelli, JJ Redick, and Ersan Ilyasova. Just savvy veterans that know their way around the basketball court that can really help them out.
Okay, so the final verdict on Killian's conclusion. So Killian, obviously,
Yes.
yeah.
Probably
Alex?
not.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, probably not.
And sorry, Killian, I don't think so. So I have a ballsy conclusion.
Oh, that's
Uh,
a swear word right there.
Derek Rose is back.
False.
False.
Moving
Now,
on.
The Minnesota.
My one.
Wait. Markel false.
I thought of that as well, but I didn't want to ruin everyone's ears.
That was good.
Okay, firstly, Alex, please don't do that again. That was like loud. You guys didn't get to see that, but Alex hit his head off the table, and that's the sound that you're going to hear.
Funny.
So Derrick Rose went off in a 3-point loss for the Timberwolves against the Houston Rockets. He scored 16 points, 4 rebounds, added 2 boards. He shot 50%. He shot 1 3-pointer. He had a good game, and we haven't seen a lot of those from Derrick Rose in recent times. But ever the optimist, I'm going to say that this is the beginning of a new era for Derrick Rose, and he's going to come back.
Win MVP next year.
Yes.
How many times have we said that Derrick Rose is back since he left Chicago? I can remember a stint in New York where, he was putting up good numbers, and he was back. He had a couple of 20-point games, and he was back, and then he wasn't back at all. And then he was on the Cavs, and then he was washed up, and then he got traded, or cut, he disappeared for a while there. So you never know with Derrick Rose. He's such a nice. He's such an unpredictable player. I don't think he's back as such, but I think he might have found a new role as, the guy that comes off the bench and just provides that kind of spark off the bench for the Timberwolves, alongside guys like Crawford, who they might not. They're both coming to the end of their careers. I think it's fair to say.
Well,
with injuries, I think for Rose, I don't know if he has.
Jamal Crawford, like 8 years older or something.
What I'd like to say is, this is the first time in a long time that only one Tom Thibodeau player played 40 minutes in a playoff game. Butler played 36, Wiggins played 32. Only Karl Anthony Towns broke the 40.
The apocalypse is on the way.
He played.
He's saving them for game 3 and 4.
He played 11 players.
That's not like Tom Thibodeau.
That's mind-boggling. He played 3 of them played less than 10 minutes. Dieng, Jones, and Bielitsa, yeah.
And Gorgie Jang, not Dieng.
Yeah, well, they played Sen 5. Then Derrick Rose, 23 minutes. Jamal Crawford, 26. T, 28. Gibson, 31. And I mentioned the other 3. I think if Tom Thibodeau has enough faith in Derrick Rose to play what I suppose you could say is third choice point guard for 23 minutes in a playoff game, I think it's something to be optimistic about. And that's exactly what we need when it comes to the career of Derrick Rose, some optimism.
Yeah, when you say he's back though, I think you're kind of referring to MVP Derrick Rose. It's fair to say that's when you hear he's back.
He's back to New York form, boys.
He's back, but if he can keep this consistent, he'll have so much more value, because we've seen with Derrick Rose, he has these performances 3 times a year and then disappear. He's just so inconsistent. But as I said, he kind of found this new role, and if he can be this efficient and not shooting bad shots, get to the rim, do what he can do. He shot 50% in that game, only attempted 2 3-pointers. He made 1 of them, and that's good play off the bench. That's what you need, someone solid that can also provide that spark. And Derrick Rose still has that. He still is quick. He still has the athleticism, although not quite to the magnitude it was before.
I think somewhere those kind of 16 points could have come from is the poor play of Karl Anthony Towns, Jimmy Butler. They didn't have the best games in game 1 of the series. I think Towns had 8 points. Butler, I think, roughly 14.
Butler 13, Wiggins 18.
18, yeah.
Gibson 9.
So kind of Derrick Rose had to step up and get some buckets for the Timberwolves. I wouldn't expect that kind of play of 16 points too much
No.
throughout the rest of the series. Butler, Towns, they'll be stepping up.
And
Wiggins.
a lot of that as well from Rose was when he was playing with the other stars, and they draw the majority of the attention of the Rockets defense, and Rose gets some offloads.
Yeah, I mean, Rose, most of his shots now, he did have 1 or 2 jumpers that look actually really nice, but he was getting a nice few layups where there was just room in the middle because they were guarding the other players. So, it was nice play. He didn't do much wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you need off your bench, especially going up against the Rockets.
Yeah.
You can't make many mistakes against the Houston Rockets and expect to win a game.
The verdict
True.
is Derrick Rose back.
Nope.
We go for the same thing.
False.
Okay, the next one, Alex, this one coming from Charles Barkley. Do you want to say it?
The Whiteside one.
No, the hard
No,
one.
we're saying that for
Oh,
later.
the head. Oh, okay, we've seen that. Charles Barkley recently came out and said that James Harden might be the most unguardable player of all time,
What?
following his 44 monstrous performance against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Excuse me.
So,
Oshin, what's your verdict on this?
Why'd you have to talk like that?
Not nice to host more.
look, I Harden. He's
a beast.
He's probably the MVP. He's been playing lights out, unstoppable shooter, but most unguardable player of all time. That there's some competition. Couple players who might think, I might have been a little bit more unguardable than James Harden.
Someone maybe by the name of Michael Jordan.
He's not the most unguardable player in the Western Conference.
Yeah,
It's not that hard to be unguardable, to be fair to James Harden, when you travel every time you take a step back.
Whoa, harsh. But yeah, but look,
Per sources. It
there.
wasn't if he travelled, it was how many times he travelled.
It's actually true though.
Yeah.
That's really
I'd like to cite the unstoppable skyhook, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was pretty unguardable.
A man by the name of Will Chamberlain.
100 points. Certain Black Mamba.
Kevin Durant.
Allen Iverson.
Come on.
How about LeBron James, the king?
Wardell Curry. Senior.
Stop. Stop it.
Yeah, look, I think we don't need to elaborate too much more there. We could name out current players, past players, hell, EuroLeague players. No, that's a bit of a stretch.
WNBA players.
Possibly.
Maya Moore.
Don't know who that is, not gonna lie.
Minnesota Lynx.
I respect women, but
Yeah.
come on.
Come on now.
So, Harden is not the most unguardable player of all time. He is
But
not the most unguardable current player.
You've still got to recognise how unguardable and unstoppable he can be at times.
Absolutely.
When he gets hot. He can do so much on the offensive floor. He can step back and hit a 30-footer in your face. He can step back, then go by you, drive to the rim, crazy finish, get fouled. He can do so much.
Pretend to get fouled.
Yeah, look, he's a brilliant player, but he ain't the most unguardable player of all time.
Maybe in a few years we could look back at Harden.
We forgot Anthony Davis as well. Just
Wow.
name out there.
I mean, even Nikola Jokic, he is...
Okay,
He's
stop
not
it
on-
there.
he's not on that level.
Stop it there.
Come on.
No, but he's so versatile.
Chill a little bit.
James Harden is more unguardable than Nikola Jokic.
Oh, no.
Like, with all respect, Nikola
Oh,
Jokic.
fine.
James
Fine,
Harden
not
got
right now, but-
44 points against Jimmy Butler, arguably one of the better perimeter defenders in the NBA. He's up there. He's top 10. He's 110% top 10.
Unguardable players.
No, Jimmy Butler,
Or
perimeter defenders. Guys like Max Smart, Avery Bradley.
I'd say top 10, yeah.
Jimmy Butler is
I think
up there.
he's slightly overrated, but he's still top 10.
Especially in the playoffs when coached by Tom Thibodeau. He's going to give it everything he has.
Okay, yeah, Jokic is a bit of a stretch, but don't be surprised if we're talking about Jokic in that level in the next couple of
Not
seasons.
now, but sure.
Not right now.
I'll take
Fair
that.
enough.
I'll take that.
That's another conclusion, but anyway, Killian, we'll go back to you.
We'll go-
Next conclusion.
More serious note, this is It's not really jumping to a conclusion. It's just a fact more than anything else.
Boo.
Indiana will beat Cleveland.
Well, as you know, the Pacers did beat Cleveland in Game 1.
They hockeyed them.
Hockeyed. What was it, 18 points?
98-80.
So, Killian, please explain why Indiana will beat Cavs out of this series.
All right.
You sound very convincing.
As you know, Indiana absolutely massacred the Cleveland Cavaliers in Game 1 by 98-80. To be quite honest, I chose to sleep over watching the second half. It was so filthy. I watched the first half.
Even when the Cavs came back and they were only down 8 points, 7 points,
and then
ended
Indiana brought it right back.
into the third quarter, and
They went nope. Indiana went up big in the first quarter. I think they were up like 20, like 19-ish after the first quarter. You said Cleveland, they came back a little bit in the fourth, but it was game over after the first. LeBron James had a triple-double. They still couldn't prevent them from getting blown out. It's just nobody on the Cavs can guard the NBA's most improved player, Victor Oladipo. He had 32 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals with 6 3-pointers. He just got open 3 after open 3 in that game against the Cavs. Indiana with the 12th best offense in the NBA, which isn't great, but the Cavs have the worst NBA defense aside from the Suns, who, let's be real, they probably want to be that bad on defense. So they're the worst defense in the NBA. It's just how it is. Indiana, they're going to beat Cleveland.
As Killian said, it was that first quarter that kind of put them out there, the 33-14 in that first quarter. But it just seemed like the Pacers wanted that game more. They went out there and they wanted to win. I think Cleveland were kind of laid back, thinking, it's the Pacers, it's whatever. We've got LeBron James, we're going to win this series. But as we said in our preview, that the Cavs role players really need to step up around LeBron James, because we know LeBron James is going to bring it every single night. It's just, will the role players be there? LeBron James can't beat everyone on the Western Conference on his complete own. He needs something.
Kevin Love really didn't give him that something in that game. I think he had about 8-9 points. Shot terribly from the field. Don't think he made a 3. Maybe he made 1.
There was 3 players on the Cavs that broke double digits points. Obviously, there's LeBron James, J.R. Smith with 15 points, and Larry Nance with 10. Besides that, Rodney Hood with 9 points. Jeff Green didn't score. Kevin Love with 9 points. Jordan Clarkson with 6 points. And it's just, I think, as well as that, Coach Ty Lue
doesn't do anything.
Yeah, but personally, I'm not an NBA coach or anything, but I just didn't really agree on what he was doing. Guys like Jose Calderon, Kyle Korver, Tristan Thompson, Chetty Osman, who played big minutes for the Cavs all year long, and they've shown that they're that deep team, and when something's not working, they can bring in someone else to change it up a notch. But Jose Calderon, who they played so well with when he was starting or even played 9 minutes, garbage time. Kyle Korver, arguably one of the best sharpshooters in the NBA. If you bring him in, he makes 2 3-pointers. There's a spark there for the Cavs. He played 3 minutes. Tristan Thompson, your starting centre for most of the year, played 1 minute.
What about Chetty?
Chetty Osman as well played 1 minute, doing nothing. The game was over at that 1 minute.
Alex, I'd just like to go back to your point. You said you're not an NBA coach. I could have sworn you coached the Kings for a bit. Just sounds like one of those things. No?
What are you on about?
yeah, just there last year, man.
Yeah.
Took some time off the JC and went over to Sacramento.
As
I'm
you
actually
do.
so confused. Like, what's going on? Honestly.
Yeah, Killian doesn't understand witty banter, as they call it.
Actually so lost.
Yeah, look,
The Kings have so many coaches.
I just pulled the Kings out of my ass. I just thought of a random team who are kind of trash. But anyway,
And that no
What
one
else
knows.
do you store in your ass?
see, that's the kind of humor Killian does understand. Playground. Look, I'm gonna on the bright side for Cleveland. I know they didn't play well. 18 points kind of says it all, but it was just they missed simple shots. They're making the opportunities. It's just a matter of putting them in the basket. Jeff Green missed 3 open threes. J.R. Smith missed a few as well. If they can, it's not as if they were forced into an off-balance fadeaway here, there, and everywhere, or anything like that. There were simple shots. I think they might have just maybe the playoff nerves or something. I know these players have been there before, but I don't know. I just think that we could still see a lot from this Cleveland team. It's just a matter of fine-tuning things.
But it's not even, some things don't even show up in the stats. Like the Pacers, I said they won more. Every 50-50 ball they were on top of. Every loose rebound was the Pacers. Every time the Cavs missed a shot, 4 or 5 Pacers were there, and that was going to be their ball. There's things like that. Just there's skill, and then there's talent, then there's the determination and stuff that can really define a game like this when it's close and teams are evenly matched. And the Cavs, like they've done kind of for the regular season, we saw the Warriors coast. I think the Cavs last couple of years, they've kind of, not to the same degree I don't think, but they've coasted through the regular season. We've seen the Warriors, they can turn it on, but the Cavs seem to be slow turning it on, especially this year.
So
After LeBron lost his first ever playoff round one, game one playoff game.
Yeah, I suppose most people, well, us three anyway, we had Cleveland to go to the finals again, and then probably get their asses handed to them by the Golden State Warriors. But we still had them to get to the finals. You know what? It is after. I know we're only judging off one game, but it doesn't look positive. Can they still get to the finals?
Yeah, we've seen, like, with this shooting, it can be on, off. If they can get shooting, they shot 23% from three in that game, from one of the better 3-point shooting teams in the NBA. When you have LeBron James coming up, 3 or 4 knockdown shooters around him, usually you're gonna, make some more than what they did, and they've relied on that. But I think LeBron James is going to have to be better as well. Yes, he put up 24-point triple-double, which is fantastic, but you've got to do more. This is the playoffs. You've got to put up 30 in a triple-double almost. He went 0 for 4 from 3-point, and he only shot 42%, which is, it's not the efficient level that they need from LeBron in this critical time in Cleveland.
So, verdict: will Indiana beat Cleveland?
Nah.
I want to just say no, but if Indiana can somehow steal game 2 coming up, if, we've said before, Coach Ty Lue is probably not an NBA coach. If he can't make the right adjustments, or if LeBron just isn't up for it in the first quarter and Indiana can get out like they did in game 1, and Pacers are up 2-0 heading back to Indiana, then we could be looking at an entirely different series. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree. I think
Cavs in 5.
It's not impossible for the Pacers to get through. It's just
Unlikely.
it's unlikely when you're playing against the King.
Sleeping. Pacers in 8.
Pacers in 8.
Pacers in 3.
Killian, you do have 2 more, but we might just
Stick with the one?
Stick with one.
Well, you know what one I'm picking. Jumping to conclusions. The Miami Heat...
Can we do the other one? No, continue, sorry.
The Miami Heat are better without Hassan Whiteside.
Damn. Wow.
Nah.
Killian, please explain why the Miami Heat are better without Hassan Whiteside.
As you all know, the Heat currently, as of recording this episode, are 1-1 against the Sixers. Whiteside has played a grand total of 27 minutes in the series so far. Game 1, 2 points, 5 rebounds and 2 blocks. Game 2, 4 points, 5 rebounds and 1 blocks. They're not bad numbers considering his limited minutes, but it's not enough production out of a supposedly top 10 centre in the NBA, even in limited minutes. Matchup wise, he's going up against Ersan Ilyasova. Enough said. He should be beasting and feasting right now given how good he's supposed to be. In the series, he's being outplayed by Kelly Olynyk. He's been outplayed by Kelly Olynyk in both games, and Kelly Olynyk is a weird player. He's like a shooting guard stuck in a centre's body. I know a lot from Boston, but...
Yeah, but you say Kelly Olynyk has outplayed Hassan Whiteside. Kelly Olynyk has also outplayed every other forward/centre on the Sixers or Heat roster, so...
Sixers don't have anyone else. Ersan Ilyasova.
Yeah, it's... Are you finished? Yeah.
I have a bit more. You can just talk, though.
It is a fair point from, like we've said before, the casual NBA fan, but when a Heat fan like myself and people say these kind of things, when Hassan Whiteside was injured during the start of the year, everyone was wondering, when's Whiteside getting back? When's Whiteside going to get back? He got back and they jumped up in improvement. Coach Spo he knows what he's doing. Okay, he's been there before. He's won multiple championships. He's viewed as one of the better coaches in the NBA. He has tried, especially in Game 2. Whiteside did play some more minutes than he did in Game 1. But it's offensive side of the floor is whatever. But Ersan Ilyasova, first of all, he's underrated on defense. He put his hands up and he can pretty much touch the rim.
Anyone can put
He
his
is
hands
so
up.
long, and he's just because he's white doesn't mean he's a bad defender.
Whoa!
Don't act like that's not true.
Well, like, there's a lot of good white defenders.
Big man perimeter defenders
What do you mean?
that can get blocks and defend the rim. Ersan Ilyasova
Bears like half and half.
is a big man.
It's tall.
Just because he can shoot threes as well, people think, oh, he can't. It's like the whole Kevin Love thing. Anyways,
Yeah, but Kevin Love actually can't defend.
True.
There's a difference.
but in Minnesota, he was a monster rebounding.
Because there was no one else to get rebounds.
Same as Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh was the same thing, and then he started shooting threes, and I was like, oh, he can't defend. Anyways, where was I?
Going nowhere.
Yeah, but
Oh.
when Whiteside came into the game in the second quarter, he was big. The Heat needed him. Now, things like that don't show up in the box score or whatever, but he had some nice, easy buckets, half lobs from Wade. And
2 of them, to be specific.
this was in the first quarter when the Heat couldn't get a rebound between Ersan Ilyasova, Dario Saric, so many, even Ben Simmons. Hell, even Amir Johnson, I think, got an offensive rebound or 2. The Heat just couldn't box out, and when they got Whiteside in the game, he just put a body on whoever was there, brought down the rebound, and off they went. Things like that don't show up, and because the Heat, they are who they are, Whiteside, defensively, he would have been guarding Ilyasova, and Ilyasova was just perched up on that 3-point line, waiting to shoot him like he did in Game 1. And Whiteside just isn't effective on the defensive floor when he's out there, because he'll get beat off the dribble by Ilyasova, and he's not used to doing that. He does need to improve on that as well. So, and when they have so much depth, Miami, so many players that can come in and do a job for you, you can adjust with 12 guys that can come in and play well. You need to perform at your max level, especially in the playoffs.
I have to respect Eric Spoelstra as a coach. I'm sure he has a reason for it. My reason, either he's realised Whiteside isn't as good as people think, or he's either saving Hassan Whiteside's energy for when, so he can look pretty when Joel Embiid hasn't bent over when he comes back. Either one. You talked about casual fans not thinking that Whiteside is, makes the Heat better, but statistically, the Heat are a lot worse when Whiteside's on the court.
We call a stat watcher. Stephen A. Smith would say, I watch the games.
I think that's just an excuse.
You can't talk about, as a big Ben Simmons fan, you can't say, when people say, he only puts up 15 points a game, and you said, but he affects the game in so many other ways. Same thing with Lonzo Ball. It's the same thing with Whiteside. Some things just don't show up in the box score. Altering shots, things like that. Screens, effective screens. There's a difference in Miami when you have Hassan Whiteside or Bam Adebayo setting a screen, than the likes of when they're not in the game, and you have Tyler Johnson setting screens for Dwayne Wade a lot of the time.
Yeah, but in terms of statistics, I think 2 of the most kind of reliable statistics, most of them are a bit iffy with player efficiency rating. Most people don't even know how it's calculated. Offensive rating and defensive rating, just points scored per 100 possessions, whether you're on offense or defense. When Whiteside's on the court, the offensive rating is 104.8, defensive rating is 107.7. Then Whiteside goes off, the offensive rating jumps up to a brilliant 110.1, and the defense, fair enough, gets slightly worse to a 108.3. Statistically, the Heat are just a lot better on offense when Hassan Whiteside is off the court. You talked about screens and that, but they seem to be getting more points when he's off the court.
It's because, as you said, when you've Kelly Olynyk in there, you have 5 guards in there for the Heat.
And who's there to get rebounds blocked? To get offensive rebounds?
No, but like when Whiteside's out the game and you talk about offensive rebounds, sometimes the Heat don't miss on offense. So.
Yeah, but they do though. They don't shoot 100% from the field.
No, it's the same thing as I said with the whole stat thing. Even looking back at Game 2, Goran Dragic, who people said he had a poor performance in Game 1. Coming into Game 2, people said that he's going to have to step up. He's going to have to do more. He's their all-star. And, I mean, he did play well for the time he was in. He was in slight foul trouble. But, he didn't play most that first half. And that's when they were big. And 'cause they didn't need him. Yes, Granny played a lot more minutes in the second half of the game. But I don't think he barely played at all in the second quarter. And that was when the Heat went from being down 12 to being up 14 or 15, 16-ish going into the half.
What does Dragic have to do with Whiteside?
I was just saying, it's another thing with the Heat. They're not their usual team. This isn't me coming from a Heat team. There's no superstar, no big player on the Heat, like with every other team. We have like Victor Oladipo, even with the Pacers, surrounded by a load of role players. The Heat is just all role players. And yeah, I didn't see what I wanted from Whiteside, stat-wise, but from his role, what he did in the time he did, I was pretty happy with as a Heat fan.
So, Alex, I'll go for your verdict first.
You don't have to ask. I should tell.
Just, you clearly believe that the Heat are better with Hassan Whiteside? Well,
I mean, it's a 50-50, like.
What?
Sometimes the Heat are better with him, sometimes they're better without him. Like.
That helps my argument.
Okay, but
just saying,
you're
not
judging it
really
off
an
the
argument.
2 playoff games, and Alex, do you believe that the Heat were
my
stats are from the regular season, so.
The Heat are better when Whiteside plays. They might be better when he's off the court on the bench, but if he's out completely, the Heat are better with him. With him at least in uniform on the sideline, no matter how many minutes he plays.
Are they better when he's on the court or off the court? Nothing about like sat and
No, but as I said, when he was out injured and he played no minutes, they were a lot worse. But even when he comes in and does this, play for 15 minutes, he has an impact. So, yeah, he is better when they play. They are better when he plays.
Well, look, I'd be inclined to... Alex did... I had this argument with Alex not so long ago. And, well, looking back on it, I can see what you think, Killian. Because when you look at the stats, you can there is definitely the basis for an argument when you look at the stats. But he does have a presence and he does have an impact that doesn't come up on the box score. I think the Ben Simmons example is brilliant. Like he doesn't score as much as Donovan Mitchell.
He gets 8 rebounds and 8 assists.
He gets 8 rebounds and 8 assists.
And 1.5 steals and a block.
But just even
and a loss.
And a blowout, almost 30.
But if you look at the way Ben Simmons plays, he's a leader and he has a presence. And I think that Hassan Whiteside has the same effect.
Not the leader bit.
But not the leader, but he does have. He has a defensive presence in the team
and offensively as well.
He does have an offense.
When he gets the ball down low in below the free throw line, there's always 2 or 3 people on Whiteside. And yeah, he's not the best passer, but if he can just get it out to anyone, the Heat have so many snipers that can just knock down a shot, even if they miss.
I've never even seen Joel Embiid get triple teamed in the post. You're trying to convince me Hassan Whiteside gets triple teamed?
No, I can go back and show you highlights of Whiteside catching the ball nearly under the rim and Saric, Ilyasova, and then Ben Simmons trying to come in for a steal. It happens.
I'd love to talk about this all day long, but we're going to move on to our next segment, Would You Rather Playoffs Edition. And we're going to start with playoff Rajon Rondo or playoff Paul George. Now, just to before we argue it out, Rajon Rondo in the game the Pelicans beat the Blazers, he had 6 points, 8 rebounds and 17 assists. That's a lot of assists. Paul George had 36 points, 7 rebounds and a steal against Utah in a 8-point victory. And they both played brilliantly in their games. So, Alex, would you rather have playoff Rajon Rondo or playoff Paul George?
I think we're talking here not just who's the better player, because if I'm starting my franchise going into the playoffs and I can have Paul George or Rajon Rondo, I'm 110% having Paul George every day of the week. His ability to turn it on, he shot the lights out in game 1 against the Utah Jazz.
8
And-
threes, I believe.
Sorry?
8 threes, didn't you have?
Yeah, from what we saw after the All-Star break, we were kind of doubting Paul George. But, Alex strikes again, as he said, that Paul George will show up more since, he hasn't shot the three. Hang on. He hasn't shot the ball well from 3 since the All-Star break, since he was in that 3-point contest. But he shot 65% from field and 73% from 3. 8 for 11. Just a monstrous performance, 36 points in 37 minutes. And just to do it on both sides of the floor and to take the bit of pressure off Westbrook, just that one play he had when he just stepped back, broken ankles, and just bang. He can do so much. He can lead your team even when, say, the likes of Westbrook were out. It provides that something extra that we thought the Thunder were going to bring, and moving forward they could be a dangerous team if they can keep this up.
Killian?
Paul George is great, but this is Rondo we're talking about. Playoff insert player name here wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Rajon Rondo. He coasts the regular season and says this, I'm going to show up in the playoffs and make some money in the off season.
Like every single year when he nearly carried the Chicago Bulls team over
to
the
sweep.
Celtics.
That would have been embarrassing, but as you mentioned, he had 6 points, 8 rebounds, 17 assists, absolutely monstrous numbers. Anyone can make a couple threes, you know what I mean? Not everyone can throw out 17 assists in a game, especially when, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think a lot of the basis for this argument is, Paul George is brilliant all the time, but the step up Rondo makes from regular season to playoffs, it's unprecedented. LeBron does it. Yeah, LeBron has done it. I think LeBron has just been amazing all season now, so he can bring it up to another notch, but you can't distinguish that statistically as well as you can the Rondo argument. Rondo, he has had a couple of those games during the regular season, maybe 2 or 3, where he's, he doesn't score a lot. That's just not his thing. But he can pass it, just amazingly. At 17 assists, next to nobody in the league can do that. And, to do that when the team needs it the most in the playoffs, when he doesn't do it every game, because nobody's going to dish out 17 assists in every game. But, to have that in your team is, I don't think any team would turn it down.
No. He's going up against one of the best backcourts in the NBA as well. Granted, they're not too great on defense, but it's still the presence there. Paul George is going up against Donovan Mitchell. Well, he's still a great player. That's a rookie you're talking about, a true rookie. So there's a bit of a difference there.
But as we said, you mentioned how good he is passing the ball in the offensive. Like we said with Paul George, Rondo is a good player on the other side of the ball defensively. He's been known for his ability to steal, and even going back to his Celtic days where he just used to, his arms are so long, he can move his feet. He's a good defender, even at a small height of what, 6'1", 6'2"?
6'1".
He got 8 rebounds and he's 6'1".
Mm-hmm. Maybe he's Rondo. He's something else.
Yeah, I think
it's
that
the
kind
Rondo
of
triple-double with 10 points, 20 assists, and 10
Okay,
rebounds.
so, guys, Alex, would you rather have playoff Rondo or
Paul George,
Killian?
Rondo. He nearly
Playoff.
beat the Celtics on his own.
playoff P.
I can't choose. Paul George is the better
Well,
player.
you're going to have to.
But
Don't do that again.
yeah, Killian, please don't. Screw it. I'll go for Rajon Rondo for the buzz.
Yay.
Next one, Steph Curry or Kevin Durant?
Not a question.
Klay Thompson. What?
What?
Andre Iguodala, best Warriors point guard since.
Curry.
Okay, I'll start with you, Killian. Curry or Durant?
Wardell. Not a question. I think there was a stat a little bit earlier when the Warriors were kind of struggling through the regular season towards the end. with the Warriors without Durant, with Curry playing 22-0. Warriors without Curry, with Durant playing 15-7. Enough said. Job done. Curry's better than Durant.
Alex?
Yeah, I do think Curry is better than Durant, but when it comes to the playoffs, I think the question kind of changes a bit, because the playoffs, it is a different game of basketball. The team game comes into it, but a lot of the times you need your superstar, your big player, to just take over the game. And like we saw last night against the Spurs, Kevin Durant with his quiet 32-6-6 just came out there and just got the job done for his team, did exactly what he needed to do. And I can see him keeping this up for the majority of the time until Steph Curry gets back. So value-wise, I do think Curry is more valuable to the Warriors, the way he knows their system and everything. But playoffs, I think I prefer Durant in that team, in that system, than Curry and just them other guys, because he can do so much. Curry is known to be a bit of a liability on defense, whereas Durant has dramatically stepped up his defensive game. And when Curry's not shooting the ball well, he can be almost non-existent at times. We've seen him in the playoffs or more specifically in the finals, have bad games, especially when they lost 3-1 they lost when they were up 3-1 against the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's just not there, not performing. But Durant, if he's not shooting the ball well, he can 7 foot and he can take you off the dribble and get to the rim. He can still play defense for you. So playoff wise, I think I would rather have Durant over Curry.
How much? I mean, you mentioned the record where Durant was playing and Curry wasn't, was 15-7. You said. I know we talk. Yeah, like I suppose you could take that and say, well, Curry is obviously much more valuable to the team. But this was the Warriors team who kind of coasted in the regular season anyway. So
they'd have been coasting with Curry too, though.
They
still won every game.
Yeah, but there's, I don't know how I'm gonna put this, but when you look at the 2 games the Warriors have played in the playoffs against the Spurs, Durant has been unstoppable. The team have looked much better than they did in the regular season, almost as good as they did at the best of times with Curry and the team as well. How much of that comes down, or how much of all this comes down to, or I suppose their bad form comes down to it just being the regular season? How much of it comes down to missing Steph Curry?
I think it's a bit of a 50-50 there. Missing Steph Curry is obviously a massive difference. Him being there, even if he doesn't touch the ball for the possession, the team has to have someone locked in, facing Steph Curry, not looking anywhere else on the court. Him, gone, having Quinn Cook in instead. He's a good player, but he's no Steph Curry. Teams can switch on him, they can sag off a little bit. It makes it harder for everyone else to score the basketball. But then there's the other side where they just don't really care. As long as they make the playoffs, they're fine. Next year, they're probably going to get the 8th seed just so they can break the record. First 8th seed to win the ring, but...
Yeah, this is Steph Curry. You have to put a body on him as soon as he crosses half court. Otherwise, he might take it, he might shoot, and he probably will score. So, yeah, as Keelan said, I think it is a 50-50, but I think they would have had a better finish to the regular season. I don't think this is how they want to come into the playoffs, losing a few games. Obviously, we see now that they've just been able to turn it on, but if they could kind of keep that up, more momentum heading into playoffs, I think they would have.
Yeah, so the verdict, Curry or Durant? Alex?
Durant.
Curry.
I'm going to go for Curry too. Yeah. I just think even though we could put some of the defeats and their style of play where they just weren't playing that awful well during the regular season without Curry, I think some of it comes down to missing Curry and some of it comes down to just coasting. And I think we've seen that they want to preserve their energy for the playoffs, and I think missing Curry kind of gave them an excuse, because I think people would give out. They complain and it's like, oh, why don't you take the regular season seriously? Whereas now they've an excuse. It's like, oh, well, possibly our best player is injured. So
They injured him on purpose, just so I could say that.
He's not injured. He's just resting.
What, like Kawhi?
Yeah.
He's a quad injury.
But
He wants a trade.
But Kawhi's not coming back.
Mm.
As I told you all a long time ago that Kawhi played his last game for the Spurs.
Probably, yeah. Finally,
I still believe.
would you rather play off Jason Tatum or play off Donovan Mitchell? Just briefly, Jason Tatum in the Celtics overtime win against the Bucks. Jason Tatum scored 19 points, 10 boards, and had 4 assists. Donovan Mitchell went off for 27, 10 rebounds as well as Jason Tatum, and 1 assist less, 3 assists. We're going to throw Ben Simmons into this, but then we realised we've talked about Ben Simmons in almost every episode.
Far too much.
And he's down near averaging a triple-double, so...
And we had to make it fair. So I don't even know if this is fair.
Ben Simmons isn't a rookie, so you're not allowed.
Yeah, that's why we didn't put him in.
Sure. So I'll start with you, Alex. Would you rather have Jason Tatum or Donovan Mitchell?
Donovan Mitchell.
No. Argument done, that's it.
He had 27, 10 and 3, as Oshin said, with 2 steals and a block. You know, on 50% shooting, which is it's decent, it's whatever. But he's been the leader of his team all year long. You know, Tatum has probably become, I don't know if he's the leader, but he's certainly the number 1 scoring option, I think it's fair to say. Maybe number 2 after now Terry Rozier. But, you know, shout out to Scary Sherry.
A little bit there.
But Mitchell, you know, they're both rookies, so defensively they're whatever. They have their moments.
Tatum's good.
But they can be on and off as rookies. Mitchell, he is just, I don't know what to say. Like, he had that foot injury through the game. He just persevered, powered on through it. Like, he knows that his team needs him to do well. He's the out-and-out undisputed star of that team. I think with Tatum, it's a little more foggy. Even the situation they're in now, like, is it Brown? Who's going to step up for them? But with the Jazz, it's Mitchell. Mitchell has to step up or the Jazz ain't going to win a game. And, you know, he had a decent performance. And the Jazz still only lost by 8. So, with a massive performance from Paul George. So, I think if Donovan Mitchell can really get going and some of the other guys as well, like, you know, Derek Favors and guys like that didn't really have great performances. If he can get them going, then I think the Jazz could take a few games off the Thunder.
Killian?
Jason Tatum. I didn't watch Donovan Mitchell against the Thunder, so I don't really know how he did, but watching Jason Tatum, he was absolutely incredible. He had the 19 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals and a block against the Milwaukee Bucks. He only shot 8 for 18 from the field, but I'm not worried at all about that. Like, watching the game, whenever there was kind of a situation where they had to chuck up a shot at the end of the clock, he was always the guy taking it. He shot a lot of kind of contested fadeaways, and you wouldn't really expect him to make it, especially a rookie, but he was brilliant to watch. He played great defense, whoever he was guarding. He guarded Chris Middleton a little bit. Sometimes it was Tony Snell. It was great,
the same Chris Middleton that put up 31 points. He played good defense on him, was it? Or was it the Jonathan Schoon that put up 35 points?
He guarded him a little bit. Jaylen Brown was the main defender on Chris Middleton. But he was absolutely incredible to watch. He just looked so mature. People have said it all year long that he looks like an NBA vet at 19, and it is completely true. He was running the pick and roll with Al Horford, and he was absolutely amazing. He had one play, he looked like a Kobe Bryant kind of player, where he took it around the pick and roll. He said no, stepped it back for a 3, and absolutely drained it. That was the only 3 he made all game. 1 for 3 from the 3-point line. He was amazing to watch, and people might say, like, Mitchell at 27, Tatum at 19, Mitchell's better, but you have to think that 4 players on the Celtics scored more than 20 points, and Tatum wasn't one of them. There would be a little bit there. I do expect Tatum to average 20 for the series.
That's my problem. Don't get me wrong, Tatum is a good player, but playoff-wise, if you've got to pick between one or the other, it's got to be Mitchell. Like, Tatum is a great player, but if you put them both on the same roster with the same guys surrounded, I think Mitchell is more of a... Yes, Tatum does look like a veteran, but Mitchell can do so much. He can just take over games over, it seems, as a rookie, and just put up mental shots, get to the rim, throw it down, and he just gets the rest of the team really going. So that's why I got
I'm a massive
Mitchell.
advocate that if Tatum was in Utah, he'd average well over 20 points. 22 at least.
If he started over Joe Ingles. You're not allowed to swear.
Yeah,
PG. You got it blocked it out now. You did the editing.
Sure.
Not
gonna happen.
Oh, come on, make it fun. Put a bleep in or something.
I'll put a yawn in.
Yawn.
Yawn.
You're yawning. Like,
said
my verdict is, I know Jason Tatum would have had the ball in his hands less than Donovan Mitchell, but Donovan Mitchell did what he did in 34 minutes. Jason Tatum had 44 minutes to do what he did. So it evens out, really, in my opinion.
Not really.
It kind of does.
4 guys that scored over 20 points and 10 minutes makes up the difference.
Well, like,
Because Tatum isn't as good as the other guys. Mitchell is the best on the Jazz.
You're honestly saying Jason Tatum isn't better than Terry Rozier?
Well, from what we saw in Game 1, this is,
okay,
this is playoffs.
Remember,
We've seen
this
one playoff game from Jason Tatum and one playoff game from Terry
Donovan
Rozier.
Mitchell was being guarded by playoff Russell Westbrook and did that. So,
And Paul George at times.
and Paul George, who is most people's defensive player of the year. So, look, Tatum is a brilliant player, don't get me wrong. And this draft class, pretty solid. But it's Donovan Mitchell for me. And, I'm sorry, Killian. I know you aren't too impressed with that. But on that note, we're going to
Tatum will
have...
call you when he's a scoring champ. Watch me.
Yeah,
Watch
Jason
me
Tatum
work.
is going to call me, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
He'll be like, I watched your episode. You said I'm not as good as Donovan Mitchell. Here's my scoring championship, man.
Maybe
He's just going to give it to us.
He's gonna have 14.
Maybe I should
I
just...
love there, Killian, when he's on the phone, he put up the hand at the phone as well.
Yeah, maybe I should talk trash about more players, and then they'll call me up when they prove me wrong. So, but anyway, we're going to have to leave it there. So, thanks to CRC for the studio. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are Team Eurostep on all those. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. And if you enjoy our content, please support us on Patreon. As little as €1 a month helps. And there's some goodies too if you become a patron. So,
some goodies.
Just set them up first, bro.
Everyone loves some goodies.
so we're going to have to leave it there. So, until Saturday, it's going to be a goodbye from Killian, a goodbye from Alex, and a
Dwayne Wade's the GOAT. See ya.
and a goodbye from me. Until next time, keep grinding.
Kids.